Hello and welcome back to the news from Kazakhstan. I'm Askar Sherliyev and these are the top stories. Mangistau employees cancelled their strike after collecting wage debts. Experts believe more protest actions are inevitable. The court authorized the arrest of the former health minister Jaksalik Doskaliyev, who was recently transferred from a hospital to the investigation ward in Astana. Reporters of the internet video portal Stan.kz claim they are subjected to constant pressure from the country's authorities. On Wednesday, activists of the movement Leave Housing to People picketed the office of the Financial Supervision Agency. The protesters called for the resignation of the department's head, Yelena Bakhmutova, and the review of the financial policies. Activists of the movement Leave Housing to People called to dismiss the head of the Financial Supervision Agency, Yelena Bakhmutova. On Wednesday, more than 50 protesters with red and white posters picketed the FSA office in Almaty. Leave Housing to People, Bakhmutova resign. The mortgage holders read out their petition demanding to lower the interest rates, change the regulations financial policy and introduce strict control over the banking activity. Why nothing is done in accordance with the law? Why the court protects only banks? The Financial Supervision Agency also protects only banks. But who will protect people? The time has come to think about it. The demands also include the repeal of the so-called effective loan rates and the suspension of lending in foreign currencies. All of the demands were addressed to the head of the agency, Yelena Bakhmutova. According to mortgage holders, she cannot cope with the responsibilities and continue to act in the interest of private banks. Particular criticism was drawn to the judicial and extrajudicial eviction of debtors. If I didn't have kids, I would have committed a suicide. My family is falling apart and children cannot go on like this feeling stressed all the time. Despite the picket lasting for more than an hour, no official talked to the protesters except for regular clerks, who simply observed formalities by accepting the documents. The response will be issued within 15 days. The movement activists intend to gather next to the FSA office again in 2 weeks to learn about the response, but next time they will bring an additional person to make the protest action even bigger. Another rally was held in the town of Aksukent in southern Kazakhstan. People are outraged due to the recent raise of tariffs for water, which is supplied irregularly for only several hours per day. On Wednesday, more than 24 people attempted to learn the reasons for the new raise from the local officials. More than 2,000 families in Aksukent received bills calculated according to new water tariffs. Now the tenants have to pay 2 times more than the residents of the regional center Shymkent. People are outraged since the water tariffs are raised for already the 2nd time this year. The most courageous of them have entered streets in protest. People don't want to pay as the new cost is too high. Nobody explained us why the tariffs were raised. For already 15 years, local residents live in the constant expectation of a sudden water supply interruption. Tursunay Junusalieva, like many others, has already got used to these conditions. However, the September bill, where 1 cubic meter of water cost 70 cents, outraged her. After 6 p.m. it is just unbearable. We cannot wash the dishes and take a bath. We have a lot of children and it is hard to survive without water. People asked to explain the increase of tariffs from the leadership of the utilities enterprise. Representatives of the company said that the Anti-Monopoly Committee has approved the new rates back in April. The Anti-Monopoly Agency has approved the tariffs and now demands us to follow them. The low number of customers is another explanation of public utilities officials. Aksukent residents were not persuaded by these excuses and warned that they will complain about the matter to the country's MPs. The strike of oil workers in western Kazakhstan is averted. Employees of the company Mangistau plan to hold their protest action on Wednesday, but were able to secure the repayment of wage debts. Leaders of independent trade unions claim they had to negotiate with the company's top management for an entire week to reach a guarantee of the contract fulfillment. At the same time, experts are concerned by the growing protest moods among the workers. The strike of 10,000 workers was averted in Aktau. Members of 34 contractors of Mangistau demanded to pay them outstanding wages. During the last week, employees continued their work, although claimed to be ready for a mass strike at any moment. According to the chairman of the independent trade union Aktau, Kenjigali Suyunov, the talks with the contractors' management lasted 5 days and debts repayment was launched only on Wednesday. The strike was planned for Wednesday, however, we undertook some measures and the problem is now resolved. Mangistau paid the money to the contractors, effectively ending its function and commitments. The labor conflict in the oil and gas sector will continue, says Kairat Al-Muhammetov, the chairman of the Oil and Gas Association. He believes the dissatisfaction is mainly caused by the wage difference for Kazakh and foreign workers. At all major oil fields, foreigners are paid 10 times more than Kazakh employees. This system of payments is set by the oil companies. Al-Muhammetov admits that often the qualification of foreign workers is higher. However, the tenfold difference is a discrimination of the labor force. Al-Muhammetov believes that to prevent further strikes in the industry, transnational corporations should allocate finances for the training of local staff and stimulate the payment of bonuses and wages. Most importantly, it is necessary to increase the share of domestic contractors, who currently represent only 5% of the industry. The former health minister Jaksalik Doskaliyev was transferred to an investigation ward, reported on Wednesday the spokesman for the financial police Murat Jumanbay. The previous 10-day arrest, a warrant, expired a day prior, and the anti-corruption agency filed a petition for an extension. The court agreed and sanctioned a new arrest for a term of 2 months. On Wednesday, former health minister Jaksalik Doskaliyev was transferred from a hospital to an investigation ward in Astana. The official ended up there due to efforts of the financial police and after the decision of the Sararka district court on the extension of the detention for 2 months. The court explained its decision by saying that the minister will be able to influence case witnesses if he will remain free. The Sararka district court authorized the arrest of Doskaliyev, and on October 13th, the defendant was moved to Astana's investigation ward. No other information is revealed in the interests of the investigation. On September 26th, the former health minister was admitted to an intensive care department of Astana's medical center diagnosed with a stroke. Doctors on duty initially reported that the official was in a coma, but later testified to the financial police that the defendant is feigning his illness. The agents still claim Doskaliyev's health is not in danger, and it looks like the court ignored the arguments of the ex-minister's lawyer that his client requires medical treatment. Robert Shmal intends to appeal the decision in the city court. If he will get better, we will insist on the house arrest. We will ask for it, and there are precedents when the court changed its decision based on the new circumstances. For instance, the ruling could be reviewed if we will prove that he is not influencing anyone's decision or attempting to escape. Doskaliyev's lawyer says he wants to ask the country's MPs for help, and with their surety convinced the court that the former minister will not escape the investigation while under house arrest. It is yet unknown who among the MPs will agree to serve as a guarantor. At the same time, the rumors that the official's case has more to do with politics than corruption reduce the number of potential patrons to the bare minimum. It is hard to find an absolutely clean person among the senior officials, thus it is only a matter of time. After all, Nazarbayev said that all of them have been involved in something that can lead to a prison sentence. That is why members of Masimov's cabinet are so restless now. The financial police charged Doskaliyev with abuse of power and accepting a bribe. According to the investigation, the top official had illegally received several apartments and a house in Astana. During the Wednesday's parliamentary session, the MPs managed to talk about everything but the politics. The main topics discussed touched upon sex, alcohol and bread prices. More bread and fewer circuses. This is the best way to sum up the subject of many recent parliamentary inquiries. The MP Iraki Likiyev was amongst the first in the lower chamber to raise the issue of bread prices, although this topic is heatedly discussed by the public for already a month. Bakers explained the increase of bread prices by the rise of costs for flour. Just 2 months ago, 1 sack of flour was $11.50 and now it is $16. This means that a loaf of bread now costs about 30 cents. At the same time, the MP Ivan Cherkalin is outraged about the easy availability of vodka. Apparently, even school children can buy alcohol in Kazakhstan despite the ban. Now the parliamentarian wants to punish those responsible for this negligence and puts forward several new demands. First of all, we need to create specialized liquor stores equipped with CCTV. Secondly, we need to introduce criminal liability for violations in the distribution of the alcohol products. I also propose to review the question of restricting the time frame for the sale of alcohol beverages. While talking about the bread and vodka, the MPs briefly switched to entertainment issues. They believe the domestic TV channels have too much erotic content and sometimes even show pornography. Thus, the prosecutor was asked to enforce the law accordingly. According to the law, the broadcasting of pornographic films and movies with sex scenes is prohibited in Kazakhstan, but children have access to all of that. I demand to set up a commission that will monitor broadcasts of Kazakh channels. Following this logic, the request of the local MPs, Kazakhstan should employ the example of the Soviet Union, which had no sex and celebrated the law, namely the prohibition, while the parliament will discuss all sorts of topics except for current politics. In the meantime, several prominent parties and the movement Поколение, the generation, showed unusual political activity in Almaty. Oppositional and pro-government organizations discussed the situation with the country's pensioners and called to abandon the Chilean saving model that is currently used in Kazakhstan. Representatives of the oppositional party Azat, ruling Nuratan and loyal to the president Adilet, gathered at a round table on Wednesday to discuss the improvement of the pension provision. Pensioners at the event were represented by the chairman of the Поколение movement, Irina Savostina. The fact that the organization and Adilet have united to lobby the changes of the pension legislation surprised the observers. We currently witness the creation of another bubble, and we know well that bubbles have a tendency to burst eventually. In this sense, should we just wait until the money that we invested into the so-called securities will just disappear? Adilet members propose a radical solution to abandon the so-called Chilean saving model, which was used for the last 10 years. According to calculations, the average amount of pensions in Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan and Russia is $146, $200 and $250 respectively. Considering the regular growth of prices for food and public utilities, this amount is not enough for the normal existence of elderly. The chair of the Parliamentary Committee on the Financial Budget, Gulzhan Karagusova, admitted that the situation in the pension system causes serious concerns, as there are no guarantees that the National Pensions Fund will continue to exist. The pensions issue is a sore point for Kazakh citizens and is also a populist talking point. Usually this problem is raised by political parties not long before the elections, and in this sense the round table looked like a hint about the upcoming events.